I'm Jeannie. Welcome to Mimicraft, your home for all things creative and DIY on a budget. I make all the mistakes, so you don't have to. Hey guys, don't forget to do all those things that show me that you love me. Our first DIY is a photograph holder. You'll be needing a Dollar Tree bead wreath, 15 beads off of that, and the wire. You'll need 60 8mm beads. I bought mine at Michael's. 42 tumbling tower blocks, which is one box, and some wood glue. And one Dollar Tree Crafter's Square clothespin. I decided to paint the beads for this project. That's up to you. I used white chalk paint, and the method that I chose was to put masking tape down, adhesive side up, to hold the beads in place as I painted them. Glue 5 blocks together, end to end, using your wood glue. Next, glue down 4 wood beads as seen on screen. There'll be one on either end of either end. Note that all beads in these projects will be glued whole side down. Next, glue 1 bead on each of the inside seams. Glue 5 more blocks together, end to end. Glue 1 bead on each end of the 1st and 5th block. And I'm hopeful you noted that each bead is being centered. Glue 1 bead on each end of 16 blocks. For the next 15 blocks, you'll need to glue a large bead on one end, small bead on the other. Please ignore the fact that there are 20 blocks here. You'll need to do this on 15. Ah, redemption. Add 1 extra block to act as the family outcast. Glue both of the 5 block sets together as you see on screen. I'm not using enough glue. Make sure those holes are completely full and then up around the top of the bead so that you get really good adhesion. Hold them together for as long as you can stand it. If you have clamps, even better. Use a square to keep you honest for this part. We're going to be stacking the small beaded blocks 8 high, so 8 more above the 2 sets of 5 you just glued. Better just to watch. And a little deja vu on the right side. The single block will be glued on top of this stack of 8, right there. Line up the other 15 blocks so that they end up on a curve. That first one will touch and as you go around, only the large beads are going to touch together. This is the only way I could make the bottom of the project work out. Just hang there in there for me. It'll look like that. Just fiddle around and make sure that your arch looks nice and straight before you start gluing. Now, I think if you were to fill those large beads holes up complete with glue, that this project would hold together better. It's a little fragile. While the glue is still wet, you should be able to fiddle around with the arch until you get a shape that you're happy with. I said that like Chandler Bing. I decided to reinforce all these joints with glue, but thought better of it and put some wire, and I'll show you how to do that later. To reinforce the straight sides, I recommend using bamboo skewers. That's what I'm doing here. I cut them to size and then just glued them on with the wood glue. As long as you place them behind where the beads are, they shouldn't show from the front. You can use the wire from the bead wreath or a wire hanger if that's what you have laying around.
No wire hanger!
Or not. Here I am using the actual wire from the bead wreath. I like this wire because it's real easy to bend, but it's also strong. So I bent the wire to fit behind the large beads and then marked on the blocks where I would need to place my glue. Now this wire also would have fit the entire perimeter of the project, but I didn't think about that as I was building it, so you're welcome. I recommend a heavy-duty adhesive to glue this wire down. I used E6000. After placing the wire on top of your heavy-duty glue, you'll be reinforcing it with some hot glue. Take your hot glue and just place it over each one of those joints, and that will hold it in place until the E6000 dries. It'll also give it extra support. Using hot glue, attach a piece of jute twine as you see here on screen. Put glue on, put the twine on, then put glue over. Next, decide where you want your clothespin to be to hold your photograph. I estimated it to be there, and then cut it and went ahead and glued it together. Put glue both under and over the twine. I recommend cutting small pieces of command strips to fit behind your project to attach it to the wall. Now we're going to turn this into custom wall decor. Place a piece of white poster board underneath your project. Trace the inside of the arch and cut it out roughly 1/4 inch larger than what you traced. Using a piece of Dollar Tree wallpaper, trace and cut out the same shape. Slowly apply the wallpaper to the poster board as seen on screen. Just a little bit at a time will keep you from getting wrinkles. Attach this to the back of your project with a heavy-duty glue like E6000. Reinforce it with hot glue to keep it in place as it dries. And here's how mine turned out. This is how it looks with the blocks painted dark green. Now let's try one with decoupage. This is tissue paper in the gift wrap section of Dollar Tree. I'm going to start out by ironing all the wrinkles out of your paper. I should have put parchment over this. Many apologies. Next we're going to take some Mod Podge. We're going to squirt some into a container, pour some into a container, excuse me, and spray a little bit of water in. I like to thin it out a little bit because it goes on a whole lot nicer. Put the Mod Podge on with the brush everywhere. Be careful not to miss any spots. When the Mod Podge is completely dry, place your tissue over the piece of poster board. A piece of parchment paper over that, and use a dry iron to iron the tissue to the poster board. Take your time. You can keep checking to see if things have adhered. I've got the iron on pretty low. I would not go too hot. Check for any spots that haven't adhered and just repeat the process as necessary. When it has completely cooled, apply a layer of Mod Podge over the top. Again, make sure that you thin the Mod Podge out. You don't want it to dry too quickly. If there are any wrinkles, you can go over them with an iron as you did when you glued the tissue down to the poster board. It should look something like this. Now you want to flip this over, and we're going to be folding the front to the back, gluing it down with more Mod Podge. Put Mod Podge on the poster board, fold the tissue over, and then Mod Podge over it to make it stick. Use a strong adhesive to glue this to the back of your project. This time I'm using super glue gel. Place something heavy over it until it dries. And this is how this version turned out. I really wanted to see what this would look like with just the inside portion done, so I cut it down and re-glued it, and this is how it looks. I'm really curious to see which one you guys like better. I'm on the fence. If you would pause the video for a second and put an N in the comment section if you like the narrow one, and a W in the comment section if you like the wider one. I really appreciate your input. Now here's a version with a different tissue paper from Dollar Tree. this is how this one turned out. You know, between tissue paper and paint, there are endless possibilities. This time we're going to turn the project into a plant hanger. Pay close attention because this is put together very differently. Paint your blocks any way you would like them. I painted the front and back sides of all of mine. Kind of wish I painted them all. And again, I painted all of the beads. Glue all of the beads on in the same fashion as the last projects. We're going to be marking the centers of all of the blocks. And in this project, what I did is I marked the center of the bottom block, then marked the center of the top block, and used a straight edge to draw a very light line down in between. That way, the center would line up for the whole row. Turn the blocks 90 degrees and mark the center in this aspect as well. Now grab your wreath wire, or, never mind, and choose a drill bit slightly wider than your wire. I chose a 1/8 inch. Use a nail or a flathead screw to make a little dent in the spot that you want to drill your hole. It will make the drilling way more accurate. Keep the drill as perpendicular as you possibly can and go ahead and drill holes in every single block. I didn't show it, but you'll also need to drill a hole on either end of each 5-block piece. Now, if you should make a mistake, wood filler is your friend. Fill in your mistake, let it dry completely, and re-drill your hole. Shape your wire to fit the center of your project. This is a terrible example. To assemble this, thread on the blocks that have the bigger beads on them first. We're going to get those up to the middle before we do the sides. And then go ahead and do the sides. What we're going to do is just a dry fit before we start gluing things together. Use wood glue as you did before to glue all of the blocks together right at the beads. As you get up into the curve, the only beads that are going to fit together are the large ones. Truth be told, if I were to make this again, I would take the extra time to drill either side of the block where the beads are and use 2 wires. I think the whole project would be a whole lot stronger. Oh well, live and learn. Use a square to check the squareness of each side. Slide a small bead all the way up on each wire and then mark where that bead lands. Cut each of these wires with a wire cutter a little above that mark because we don't want the wire sticking out of the bead. We want to hide it. Flood both the hole and the top of the bead with wood glue. And place the bead over the wire and secure it to the block above. And do the same for the other side. This is where I was going to stop, but as you'll see, I'm going to add one more row of 5 just to make this look a little more complete. After the beads are on, snug everything up as tight as possible and then allow it to dry. Glue 5 more blocks end to end. Paint them to match the others. Glue beads as shown. And glue to the bottom of the project. Don't forget to add glue to those 2 stopper beads. Glue 9 blocks together like this. We're going to make a shelf. Paint front and back skinny sides. Center the shelf and glue it. You might want to add a couple screws as well. I'm just too lazy. Do your best to keep the project perpendicular and the shelf parallel as the glue dries. I use my mini level to keep me honest. You'll need some type of hook to hang your project. I chose an eye screw. There are a lot of different options you can use to thread through this eye screw. You can do chain, twine, yarn. I decided to use clear fishing line so that it wouldn't show. You can use a cup hook in the ceiling to attach the other end of your twine, yarn, fishing line, whatever it is that you used. And this is how mine turned out. How cute would this be for a wedding? Our last project is mirrored wall decor. You'll need 2 Dollar Tree round mirrors, 34 tumbling tower blocks, and 34 of the Dollar Tree bead wreath beads, and glue, and paint and tenacity and opposable thumbs. So not shown, glue all 34 beads onto all 34 blocks like you see right here, and then start painting till you just can't paint anymore. Here's a pile. I'm not sure if that's 34. Please don't count. Whoop, you saw me. Take the mirrors out of the frames. You can save the frames for another project. We don't need them today. Use permanent marker or paint to cover up the edges of these mirrors, make them black. It'll just look a little bit nicer. Now, if you'd like, you can glue the backs directly to the mirrors. They show a little bit, so I'm just going to trace them and cut out a circle a little bit smaller than that. That's what it's going to look like. That is poster board, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue the mirrors to the poster board. I regret doing the hot glue this way. It works out a whole lot better if you just glue and press, like here. So those really need to be adhered on. Make a poster board template 1.5 inches bigger than the mirror, in this case 10.5-inch diameter, 5.25 inch radius, and then place the mirror side down absolutely in the center. We're just using this template as a guide. Next, you'll be gluing the blocks to the back of the mirror, not to the template. Using the template so that the ends of the blocks all line up with that outer perimeter. You're going to put a little bit of glue on that skinny side of the block and then also on the bead. You can see here I forgot to do that. I'll get my rhythm in just a minute. The blocks are being glued to exactly 1/2 of the mirror. The bead ends are glued together, the other ends are glued to the mirror. Be sure to reinforce all of those joints with extra glue. You could also add wire if you like. Repeat on the second mirror. This will be fragile till the glue dries, so leave it alone. Now we're going to attach them. First we got to do swapsies, and then we're going to glue them together as you see here. Does that blow your mind? Now while that's drying, glue together 4 sets of 3 end to end like this. We're going to use these to reinforce the attachment of the 2 mirrors. This is how you're going to place them, and you are going to glue them both to the back of the mirror and to the blocks they're touching. Put something heavy over it until it dries. Give it at least a few hours. Next, you'll decide where you want your hangers to be. You'll need to put blocks so that the hangers are even with the supports. I'm going to do mine in doubles. You can use a sawtooth hanger like that. This is if you're doing it horizontally. Or command strips. I would choose command strips if I had them. They're so easy. This would be vertical placement. I'm going to do it both directions. I used my cutting board grid to help me place the hangers evenly. If you don't have one of those, a neat little hack is to take some Dollar Tree gift wrap and use the back side because those have a grid on them. And this is the result. I highly recommend sealing your project. I sealed mine with matte Mod Podge and it really made it look high-end. Here it is hung vertically. Take some Dramamine for this next view. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet commented or even subscribed, why don't you take a second and do it now? Let me know what you think about these projects. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you know every time I upload. Till the next one, bye.